It was one of the most luxurious Airbnbs I had ever seen. It was a giant log cabin in the woods with a hot tub overlooking a lake. But while I was staying there, I could have sworn something was watching me sleep. Before we go any further, I need to explain that this story is completely true. The reason I'm telling it in a spooky way is because up until about 2 weeks ago, I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, but after what happened in that cabin, well, I'm not so sure. Okay, so last month, my girlfriend and I were looking for a relaxing getaway where we could disconnect from the outside world. We found the perfect spot, a private cabin nestled in the woods with a huge window facing a frozen lake. There were no reception bars and the Wi-Fi was spotty at best, which was exactly what we were looking for. The host left us detailed instructions on how to get to the cabin, and when we finally found it, we were blown away. It was even more beautiful in person than it was in the listing photos. It was a massive frame cabin made out of logs. There was a porch with 2 rocking chairs and a grill and a hot tub that overlooked the frozen lake. We couldn't have asked for anything more. We spent the day unpacking, checking out the cabin, and of course taking lots of selfies because it was the perfect place to get some Instagram content. I even recorded a video for my channel because if you are staying in one of the most beautiful cabins in the woods, you kind of feel like you should be documenting it. Okay, so we finished our video and then it started to get dark. We lit up the fireplace, made some dinner, poured some wine, and just relaxed. We stayed up playing board games and talking until late into the night. Then we finally decided to call it quits. My girlfriend went to bed early, but I couldn't sleep. I don't know if it was all the wine I drank earlier, but I just couldn't get comfortable. I got up and walked around the cabin to see if I could find something to watch on TV, but everything was either a cooking channel or an infomercial. It was so frustrating, so I did the only logical thing I could think of. I got into my pajamas, poured myself a glass of water, and sat down in one of the rocking chairs on the porch to enjoy the peaceful silence. Well, at least that was the plan. Just as I settled down, I heard a loud crash in the forest. I froze. I tried to listen for any other noises, but all I heard was the wind blowing through the trees. I told myself that it was probably just an animal and went back inside. My girlfriend and I talked about how weird that noise was, but eventually we fell asleep. Fast forward to a.m. I was awoken in the middle of the night by a loud thump. I opened my eyes to see my girlfriend sleeping peacefully next to me. She didn't make any noise when she moved, so I assumed that whatever noise I heard was outside. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Every little creak of the cabin made me jump. Every gust of wind made me think of that original crash. I kept telling myself that it was nothing, just my imagination. But still, I couldn't shake this feeling that we weren't alone. After what felt like an eternity, the sun finally started to peek through the frosted window. I got out of bed and slowly crept over to the window. I pulled back the curtains and gasped. Someone had been walking around the cabin all night long, and they had left a bunch of weird symbols carved into the window. My heart started racing. Who was out there? What were they doing? Was my girlfriend in danger? I wanted to call the police, but I knew they wouldn't believe me. I mean, who would believe that someone had snuck into their cabin in the middle of the night and carved strange symbols into the windows? I figured it was probably just some kids playing a prank, but instead of sticking around to find out, I called my girlfriend and I said we needed to leave immediately. She was groggy at first, but then she noticed the symbols in the windows. We didn't say a word to each other as we packed our things. We both knew that we didn't want to stick around any longer than we had to. As soon as our car turned onto the dirt road leading to the cabin, we sped up. I just wanted to get as far away from that place as possible. And then it happened. About 10 minutes into the drive, we saw them, 2 sets of footprints in the soft dirt. They were perfectly spaced, just like they would be if 2 people were walking side by side. Now I know what you're thinking. It's easy to dismiss these as simply those of a previous guest, but trust me, this wasn't the case. See, when we arrived at the cabin, it had snowed the night before and there was a thick layer of snow on the ground. This meant that if anyone had walked to the cabin after it had snowed, we would have seen their footprints. The fact that we didn't see any other tracks meant that these were the only set of footprints that had been made since the snow fell. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe the cabin has a snow-covered path that the guests used to walk up to the door, but that wasn't the case either. We checked the entire property to make sure that there were no other footprints, and there were none. All the way back to the road, there were only those two sets of footprints that appeared out of nowhere. To this day, I have no idea who made those footprints. Whoever it was definitely two people, and they seemed to disappear into thin air. Now, I know I said that this story is true, but I haven't actually told you the scariest part yet. You see, when we arrived at the cabin, we weren't the first guests to check in. There was already a couple staying there. We exchanged pleasantries with them and they gave us the key to the cabin. But when we got back from our grocery run, there was a note on the door from the host saying that the couple had checked out early. Now, I thought this was weird, but I didn't think much of it. After all, people check out of their hotels all the time. I didn't know that what the host had told us was a lie. When we got back from our drive, shaken and a little scared, we checked the security cameras. This is a service that the cabin provides so that guests can keep an eye on the property. When we looked at the footage from the previous night, we saw the cabin. But here's the thing, when we checked the live feed, there was another couple there. They were sitting in the same rocking chairs that my girlfriend and I had been sitting in the night before. They were just staring off into the woods, and their faces were never shown on camera. Again, I know what you're thinking. Maybe the camera was broken and wasn't focused on their faces. Well, you'd be wrong. The camera had been moved from its usual position to focus on the couple. Whoever had placed it there must have thought it was funny to mess with us, play a prank by moving the camera and scaring us. But whoever it was, they weren't there when we arrived. We checked all of the footage from the previous day, and the couple never left the cabin. They had literally appeared out of nowhere. As I sit here telling you this story, I'm still trying to figure out what happened. Did we really have a ghostly visit from another couple? Were those really their footprints in the snow? Or was it just a clever prank by the Airbnb host? I don't know what happened. All I do know is that I will never go back to that cabin again. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hear more scary stories like this one, be sure to subscribe. Some places welcome you and others let you leave just to tell the story. This is Midnight Whispers.